acute heart failure study says that 50% of the acute heart failure patients is actually have elevation of the cardiac troponin assays, and this phenomenon is actually reflects the more comorbidities and impacts poor outcomes to the patients. We can see in the right graph there that those who is categorized as the normal troponin, which represented with the purple line, have much better prognosis compared to the brown lines, which has abnormal very high troponin levels. And we can see this phenomenon even in early days, in 10 days of hospitalization, and more significantly after 6 months. And we also know that there is high sensitivity troponin widely distributed now, and if we use this marker, then more than 90% acute heart failure patients will also have higher levels of troponin. As Dr. Fadil has already mentioned, that actually cardiac troponin elevation in acute heart failure may be due to myocardial injury rather than MI. Even so, if we take a look to the cause such as acute coronary syndrome as the cause of the elevation of the troponin itself, we can see that the mortality of the patient is really high, from the 4.2% up to in-hospital mortality, and for the 1-year mortality could reach 20%. And this study also has been validated with Finnish acute heart failure study, which also found that acute heart failure patients with ACS will have 13% mortality, almost twice as those who has no ACS. So how can we manage our patient if we find our patient with acute heart failure? First, we need to categorize our patient into one of these 4 groups. The first is patient with acute heart failure, chest pain, but normal cardiac troponin. So in this group of patients, actually conservative treatment can be our strategy. The second group, the patient with acute heart failure, elevated cardiac troponin, but no chest pain. In this case, we can use another modality such as ECG and also imaging to more differentiate our patient and stratify the risk, and conservative treatment could be considered. But for patients in the group 3 and 4, the 3 is the patient with acute heart failure, chest pain and elevated cardiac troponin, and also in group 4, patient with acute coronary syndrome subsequently developing acute heart failure, then more aggressive treatment is needed as they carry higher mortality rates. It seems simple, but sometimes in our daily case it's not that easy. So this is one of our patients, a 72 years old male with known CAD3 vessel disease, who was in preparation to undergo KDH, and also ischemic cardiomyopathy with ejection fraction of 35% and not mitral regurgitation. He came to our ED with acute lung edema presentation and hypertensive crisis. At that time, he was managed with the vasodilators and diuretics, and he denied any chest pain. From the ECG, we can see here that it doesn't show any ischemic, that is, no clear ischemic signs here. And the chest X-ray shows the acute lung edema, the condition is quite severe. And his examination showed that the troponin level at that time was about 74. So it's quite high, but not that high. So at that time, in the ED, they look at the previous echo data, and it seems like this patient could be have the acute heart failure due to hypertensive crisis. So they managed with the vasodilators and the diuretics, and then transferred to the XCC. So how is actually we can differentiate the ACS versus non-ACS etiology for the high level troponin in this case? One thing that we should perform is to evaluate the dynamics of the troponin level. If there is a rise or fall of the troponin, of course we need to suspect acute ischemia is occurred. if the patient has stable troponin level, we can assume that this patient is actually has chronic myocardial injury. Another thing that we can do is evaluating the echocardiography. So in the new ACS, we can see that the regional myocardial function, if there is new wall motion abnormalities of the synergic regions that can have potential of recovery, it could suggest the ischemic signs. Or if we can see the ischemic mitral regurgitation that caused by posterior pulmonary muscle ischemia, of course it could also help us to diagnose the new ACS. So what about our patient? So in ICU, although the acute heart failure improved and we do the examination of the echo, we found that the ejection fraction was worsening with 27%. And what is more prominent is you can see in the right part of the echo that the severity of the MR is also more worsening from the mild to the moderate to severe mitral regurgitation. So we suspect no ACS is occurred in this patient, and we do the troponin measurement, and it shows the more than 1,000. So it's really significant rise in this patient. So this patient is actually previously categorized as group 2 patient, but actually he is included in the 4th group. And of course, in this patient, treatment for the urgent coronary angio and perfusion therapy must be pursued. And for our patient, as we already know the anatomy of the coronary arteries, so we proceed this patient to undergo urgent cleavage, and the cleavage was performed on the 5th day of hospitalization. And before discharge on the 6th day, this is our echo evaluation that shows that the ejection fraction is improved and no more MR was seen in this patient. So in a case like this, my take-home message is acute heart failure with elevated troponin is not a straightforward case. So we need to do in-depth assessment for this kind of patients. So regular troponin measurements and imaging studies is also important to decide if MI occurred in acute heart failure patients, especially if the symptoms of the chest pain is not prominent. And then when initial assessment cannot justify MI, then we need to re-evaluate ischemia symptoms when acute heart failure is improved. And of course, if positive ischemia, revascularization is recommended to improve mortality. And this is the patient that we talk about. He just joined the rehabilitation program in our